Hi everybody, Fredo Rockwell here. Last summer, one morning, I made a mad dash around London. I visited 8 unrecognized embassies, not quite embassies. They're sort of diplomatic missions from things that are a bit like countries or not fully recognized as countries. And that video did pretty well. So I'm back here in London to do part 2. We're going to visit another batch. So join me. So I'm in Putney, which is a neighborhood of London just across the river in South London. I just crossed the Putney Bridge back there. So what you see behind me is a representation of one of the quirkier bits of international diplomacy. This is the Grand Priory of the UK of the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. That organization was founded in Jerusalem, like in the 11th century, as the Knights of St. John, and then later were known as the Knights of Rhodes and the Knights of Malta. Today they don't have any actual territory. They have some headquarters in Rome, which have the status of like embassies, but are not actually sovereign territory. But it's still recognized as a sovereign entity by many countries, especially countries which are predominantly Catholic. It's not recognized by the UK, but this is one of their main headquarters buildings. And if the UK government did need to engage in diplomatic relations with the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, I'm pretty sure they'd be calling these guys. So the British Virgin Islands is not a country, it's a colony. It has been a colony of the UK officially, as in an autonomous colony, since the 1960s. It has a governor who represents the interests of Her Majesty the Queen and its own elected premier. There are about 30,000 people. Like I say, they are not an independent country, so their interests to the UK government are represented here at British Virgin Island House. Okay, if you'd asked me if Monaco had an embassy in the UK, I would have said probably not, but there it is. That is Monaco. It's not Indonesia. Hi, welcome to historic Bedford Square. Now in my last video, I came here because that is the embassy of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. But Bedford Square is also the home to the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office right over there, which we're going to go visit. So as some of you may know, I was in Hong Kong in 1997 when it transferred from British to Chinese possession. And I had a brief stint as a Chinese movie star there.
What?
Anyway, this is the same organization which ran the British colonial administration, similar to the British Virgin Islands office that I was just at. It just switched over to being a representative of the Hong Kong government under China immediately on July 1st, 1997. And I think it's actually moved locations since then, but essentially it's the same organization. It may not sound like an embassy, an economic and trade office, but it does represent the Hong Kong government, which is somewhat distinct, increasingly less distinct from the Chinese government, but it does represent the Hong Kong government and its interests in the United Kingdom. Now, it's easy to think that an embassy has to be a building, because that's what we see as we go past them. But I'm going to take you in a moment to an embassy which is much an idea and a movement as an embassy, but it calls itself an embassy. It's the People's Embassy of Belarus. 2 years ago, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya ran for president and by all accounts was the rightful winner. But the dictator of Belarus, Lukashenko, overthrew the election results and declared himself president again. And in the last few days, Ukraine has been invaded by Russia with support from Belarus. So this is an especially charged moment. Lukashenko is setting up a new constitution, which will grant him extra powers, not that he really needs them. And that constitution is being enacted in a referendum being held today. Now, the People's Embassy of Belarus is organizing a demonstration outside of the regular, although illegitimate, embassy of Belarus, and that's where I'm going to go now. Please be aware, this event was organized by the People's Embassy But the people that you see are not necessarily part of that movement. They're just ordinary Belarusians who have come down to express their support for the people in Belarus and the political prisoners in Belarus who are being held, to try and convince the people inside the embassy to begin supporting the legitimate people's government of Belarus, and also to show their solidarity for the people of Ukraine. This protest has been organized by the People's Embassy of Belarus, because when your embassy fails to represent the people create their own embassy. Now, the People's Embassy of Belarus has embassies all around Europe. The one in the UK does not have a building. I don't think any of them have a building. This is an embassy literally of people. People who love their country, people who want their country to be free again, people who don't want their country to be a road for Russia to invade Ukraine.
Stop their war! Stop their war! Stop their war! Stop their war!
So I'm on Belgrave Square in West London, which is surrounded by embassies on all sides. You might be wondering what happens to an embassy after the country it represents disappears. So was I. Well, that is the former East German embassy. East Germany formally ceased to be in 1989 when it merged with the Federal Republic of Germany, the Bundesrepublik Deutschland. And so yeah, let's go see what's happened to this embassy. So it looks like in addition to getting the territory of East Germany, Germany also got its really posh embassy. I don't know why the DDR had such a posh embassy, but this really posh embassy location on Belgrave Square. Let's go see where the regular German embassy is. And here it is. I can see the East German embassy right there. So the Stasi agents stationed there must have had an easy time spying on their West German counterparts. Yeah, so it looks like West Germany, or Germany, now has two embassies right next to each other, two embassy buildings, but they're still using them. Who would have thought? Okay, I'm in a Tesco car park, and right over here is a McDonald's. This might seem like a very unlikely place to find an embassy, but I'm going to show you a very unlikely embassy, sort of embassy. If you look over my shoulder there, where it says Forest House, that is where the office of an organization called Trieste NGO is located. And it's one of two organizations that I found that is campaigning to restore the Free Territory of Trieste, which is a territory set up by the United Nations in the aftermath of World War II. Now, I have spoken to the people that run this organization, but I don't know exactly why they have an office here in Leytonstone in the northeast of London, but they do. So the Free Territory of Trieste was created after World War II. It was, I think at the time, occupied by the US and Yugoslav armies, and rather than have a continuing fight about it, the UN sort of took control of it and appointed a governor. And that lasted for a few years until everyone stopped being that bothered about what happened to it, I guess. And Italy and Yugoslavia carved it up. When Yugoslavia broke up, Slovenia and Croatia both got pieces of it. Most of it went to Slovenia. And so this former free territory of Trieste is now split between three countries. The people who run Trieste NGO think that was illegal. It did seem to violate the UN resolutions. Those were not addressed. They were just sort of conveniently forgotten. And no one asked the people of Trieste what they wanted. So they want to restore the free territory of Trieste. They think it would improve Trieste economically, that Trieste is more economically connected to the land immediately around it than it is to Italy, which is only connected to it by a narrow land bridge. But I think the weird thing is it's not really an independence movement, because the free territory of Trieste was not independent. It was dependent on the United Nations. I've just had a look at the building. There's no signage on it whatsoever to indicate that this is the headquarters of the Trieste NGO. I mean, it was until recently. It's the address that's on their website. And when I spoke to them, they did confirm that they did have an office here. I've tried a couple times. I emailed them to try and arrange a visit for this video, but no one answered. But it's hard to run an international campaign in your spare time. So I'm sure they're going strong. Just haven't had a chance to answer my emails. I would like to do a video on the free territory of Trieste eventually. It's quite an interesting story. And so subscribe if you want to make sure you don't miss that one, okay? So anyway, free territory of Trieste. You weren't expecting that one, were you? So I'm standing here in the entrance to Catalonia House. There's no flag on the outside, but if you look just there, you can see there's a Catalonia flag just inside. And also there are these stripy things on the windows here, which are from the flag of Catalonia, I guess. So Catalonia, as many of you probably know, is a region in the far east of Spain where they speak a different language called Catalonian, and it has its own autonomous region. Of course, there's been a pretty serious attempt to break away and form an independent republic recently, and I think the former leaders of the province or of the autonomous region are now in exile. I don't think this office is associated with that attempt. I think it's part of the currently recognized autonomous region administration, but still, they have an office here in London where they promote Catalonia trade and Catalonian culture. Cool. So, right behind the Catalonia office, we have the Temple Church, which once, long ago, belonged to the Knights Templar, the arch rivals of the Knights Hospitaller, now known as the Knights of Malta, now known as the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, whose diplomatic headquarters I visited this morning. So the Knights Templar are the stuff of conspiracy theories everywhere. If you've seen the Da Vinci Code or the film The Da Vinci Code, I imagine a scene takes place here. I've read the book. There's a scene that takes place here. Templar churches are all famously round. That's the idea, and they're supposed to reflect what they thought were the designs of of Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem, but in fact reflected the designs of the Dome of the Rock, which Muslim rulers had put in more recently. Anyway, there it is, the Temple Church. So I'm in East London now, in an area which the predominant cultures are Muslim and from South Asia. In one of my recent videos, I made a video about separatist groups in India, and one of those groups that I profiled, the Jammu Kashmir Liberation Front, has a UK and international office here in London, right there, right behind that door, I think. That's what the website says anyway. I've tried emailing them several times and no one seems to answer, but anyway. The JKLF is one of dozens of different groups fighting in Kashmir. They are one of the groups which is fighting for independence rather than to have Kashmir join Pakistan or India. As far as I know, they're an entirely peaceful organization. They used to be violent, but have renounced violence. Although there are different JKLF factions, so it could be these guys aren't the peaceful ones, but I think they are. And anyway, I might go in and buy something at the food store next door anyway. That looks nice. So I went in and I got a can of tamarind drink. I'm not sure what that'll taste like. Let's see. Wow. It's like tea, really sweet tea. Tamarind. Okay, that's it. That's the end of part 2 of Unrecognized Embassies of London. If I do a part 3, I think I'm gonna have to go to another city, Amsterdam or Berlin or something. We'll see. Anyway, if you like this, give it a like, and yeah, see you guys in the next video.